Happy Saturday morning to you all. I'm headed out for yet another work commute. Working on the weekend, taking the 500F out. I haven't been on this thing in a long time, probably well over a year. My son used it as his daily for quite a while, and now it's been sitting in the garage and sitting on the patio. You can see how dirty it is. I wiped off all the crap on top, but it's filthy. It needs a bath. I'm sure this thing hasn't been bathed since we took our Twisted Sisters trip last year. So anyway, I've got a long commute going to the east side of downtown today, which I don't really like. I could do without that completely, and oh boy, he's readjusted this clutch lever. Pull us all the way to the far outside. Anywho, this is a frugal little monkey. I'm going to stop and fill it up because the fuel that's in it is definitely old. Probably, shoot man, I can't even imagine. At least 4 to 6 months old, because he hasn't only ridden it maybe twice in the last several months. It's just too hot for him. He doesn't like the heat. So he's been driving the cars and staying out of the heat, which I totally understand. Excusable, 100% excusable. Only true sadomasochists do this stuff. He loaned his car to a friend of his, a little Mazda 3 that I gave him a couple, 3 years back. He loaned that to a friend of his that got T-boned in an accident. Some guy blew a light or a sign or something and T-boned his buddy and totaled his car. So Josh loaned his car to his friend, and now he's either on the motorcycle or using one of our cars. And now that my truck is down, that puts us even shorter on vehicles. So we're down to pretty much one operating vehicle, one operational machine. Sucks. So need to leave that with my wife and the girls so they can get around. That means I'm on 2 wheels. No other choices at the moment. Alright, fill this thing up with some fresh go-go juice. I'll go ahead and treat it to super unleaded because it's been sitting a while. Help dilute that nasty fuel that's in there. It's probably still got about a gallon and a half in it, something like that. So we'll make it happy, I hope. At least somebody will be happy. I won't be happy, not in the heat. 765, good enough, right up to the neck. I should have put some seafoam in there before I left the house. Oh well. Too late now. I no go back. I no go back. And I haven't been tracking fuel economy on this thing, since my son has been riding it, so I really don't care about the receipts and tracking fuel economy. What I will tell you is this thing is a little bit more efficient than my 500X, probably just because of the smaller frontal area. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily more aerodynamic, but it has a smaller frontal area, so less drag. I don't have a big windscreen and the side pods and all that stuff on there that the X model has. This is a 2013 500F for anyone that hasn't seen my previous videos on it. But my mental note for this thing has always been 70 at 70. So if I can keep my highway speeds around 70 miles an hour, it gets 70 miles to the gallon, which is just absolutely amazing. This thing feels different, man. Haven't been on it in a while. It's got a much quicker tip in now. We reset the rear triangles on it. When I first let my son start riding this, I taught him how to ride a manual transmission on this bike. It was the day after his 13th birthday, so 13 years old, and I took him to the church parking lot right over there, just across from Walmart, and he could physically handle a bike, the size, the weight, seat height, all that. He wasn't quite flat foot on the ground. I think he was just a little bit tiptoed, but I did rotate the rear triangles on it. Hey, got an F3. I rotated the rear triangles to a different position, and it dropped the rear of the bike about, I want to say an inch, maybe inch and a half. Is a fairly significant change. So when you do that and you're not changing the front suspension at the same time, it gives it more rake. You know, it's down in the back, so it has more of a cruiser kind of a geometry to it, where it wants to stand up in corners. It doesn't want to lean over. You know, you lean it over and it still has a propensity to try to stand up a bit, which is okay. You know, that's a decent riding compromise, as long as you're not losing too much ground clearance below the bike, or you know, bottoming out the suspension and causing some kind of a weird handling anomaly. But so he learned to ride it like that, and that's where it sat for several years. But then just recently, when we took it all apart and, you know, did the clutch cable and that stuff on it, we reset the triangles to the factory height, and I moved the forks up to the factory height, you know, all the way around. So now it's sitting back at factory ride height. And we had to replace the side stand, of course, because of that. We had a shortened side stand on it that was there when I bought the bike. So anyway, it feels different now. It's a little more tippy. It wants to lean in easier. So I'm going to take this thing for my work commute all the way to the east side of downtown today, and then on the way back through, I'll stop at my warehouse and probably swap this for the Rebel, because the Rebel needs to get out and get some exercise, or the battery is going to go flat on it. It's been sitting too long. I need to get my Ducati back on the road. It sat for so long just as a project, and I never got around to putting the wheels back on it. It just sat there. I don't know if anybody's watched that, but remember the project where I tore into it to pull the wheels off and get fresh tires, because the tires were just old and crusty. That's pretty much why I stopped riding it, and I put $400 and something worth of fresh rubber on it, and I thought, well, hell, I've got the wheels off, I'm gonna replace the brake pads and, you know, flush out the brakes and do all that. So I pulled the front calipers off, of course, you know, to get the front wheel off. And then I got the rear wheel off and went to remove that rear caliper. And whoever worked on that bike before used the biggest friggin' wrench they could find to torque everything down until almost shearing point of all the bolts. And I just could not get stuff off of that thing. But I went to pull the rear caliper bolts off of it, and one of them was very hard to get out. I thought, okay, well, that's fine. And at least I got it out. And then the second one, as soon as I put in the little, was it a M6 hex driver on it, put it in, made sure it was fully seated in there, and then started cranking on it, it just spun free. And what happened is it rounded out the inner diameter, you know, the inner fastener faces on that little Allen bolt. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I didn't even put that much torque on it. He just turned it out like butter. Great Italian Chinesium. So anyway, I couldn't get it off of there. I tried vice grips. I tried heating it with I didn't use a torch, but I used a hot gun, you know, a heat gun on the highest setting, heated up that whole face and the caliper bracket and all that, and I tried penetrating welds, I tried everything. I put vice grips on it and trying to crank it, and all I'm doing is just rounding off the outside of the fastener now too. So anyway, so it didn't come loose, period. I would have to drill it out and use a tap extractor to pull that thing, but I just put it back together and, you know, torqued down the other fastener properly and left the rear pads in there. But I did put fresh front pads on, put it all back together. I still need to bleed the brakes and the clutch, because they're old fluid, you know, they look like coffee instead of light tea. So that's got to be cleaned out. And where I got stuck is the battery's dead on it because it's been sitting so long. And again, whoever worked on the thing last time put the fasteners in so tight that they're all seized in there everywhere. And in order to get to the battery on this bike, you have to remove the seat, some other plastics, and you got to remove the tank. The tank has got to come out of the bike because the battery is under the tank. It's a plastic tank that's really long, and it goes all the way down back into the tail section. So anyway, the one fastener that I can't get out of the tank is at the back center under the seat. And you have to get that one out because the tank has to slide back and upward to come off. It will not come out. It's one of those brass inserts that's set into the plastic with knurlings and all that. And the fastener is absolutely seized into it. It will not let go. And what's happening is it's just rotating that brass fitting in the plastic itself. I can't get in there to get it out. And you can't really use a heat gun or anything crazy on that because it's plastic. You're going to ruin your tank. And yeah, crazy. I don't know. So I'll figure out somehow to get it out of there. I've tried putting other tools and fasteners in there to try to hold one part of it still while turning the bolt. I tried using an impact gun to give it quick shocks, whatever. Yeah, it's nothing. It's just spinning. So shit. I gotta figure it out. I might have to get a Dremel in there and just cut that fastener off. But I risk damaging the seat rail bracket, mounting area under the seat. And it's also rubber insulated, so it's got like a rubber cush mounting that the tank sits on. So I'm in a catch-22. I can't use a grinding tool, so I'm going to grind up that rubber mount. I could potentially mess up my bracket. I don't know. I'll figure it out. So if anybody has a Ducati Monster and they've ever dealt with that silly-ass tank removal and had a seized fastener, let me know what you did to get it out of there. So anyway, long story, back around to the beginning. I need to get that Ducati back on the road and ride it or get rid of it. I just don't use it much. I enjoy it, it's fun, but again, Houston heat, it's just so oppressive in the summertime. Riding that thing around as a daily or as a commuter is brutal because you've got the giant, upper cylinder. The rear cylinder is literally right here on the inside of your thighs. It's only maybe 2 inches away from your thigh, and it's radiating 250 degree heat, and if you sit still in traffic, you're baking instantly. I mean, just absolutely cooking your legs off. So not ideal in Houston heat. That's kind of why I stopped riding my R1 as well. It was just so hot in Houston commuting duties. Most of those Yamaha inline 4s run really, really hot, and the way the fairings are set up with the open cowl kind of right here by your leg, it's blowing all that heat right back on your legs when you're sitting still. Even when you're running, it's blowing it on you, obviously, but sitting still, it's pretty bad. That bike was just a little too high strung to use as a daily. Ergonomics weren't good on it. Heat wasn't good. Throttle response was pretty snatchy. It was fun to ride, but it's like running with the bulls at Pamplona. It's always trying to kill you. The Ducati, on the other hand, the ergonomics are actually quite good on it to use as a daily rider. So if it wasn't for the heat issue here in Houston, I'd probably be putting a lot more miles on that thing. It's fun. It's a torque monster, man. You turn the traction control off or turn it down, it's a wheelie monster, man. It'll just stand right up. And you don't have to clutch dump it or anything. You just whack the throttle and whee, hello. It's fun for squirting around through traffic. You can absolutely impose your will wherever you want to go. If I want that spot, it's mine. I love these Michelin Road 5s, Road 4s and 5s that I've had on so many of my bikes. We've got fresh ones on here, pretty fresh. They're just so neutral. They handle great, and these grooved roads here in Houston are awful on most bikes and even some car tires, depending on your tread pattern. They follow these rain grooves, and it's just annoying, absolutely annoying. But these Michelin 5s and the 4s that preceded it, they don't wiggle and wander and track these rain grooves. Love them. Ooh, got a crunch. Always check my mirrors like a hawk. You never know what kind of a douchebag's going to come flying up around you at the last second. Or not slow down in time and do something like that back there. So if I'm not able to sell the Ryker private party, which I don't think is going to be a problem, I will probably trade it in at a dealer. And I'm thinking about what I want as another bike if I do that, if I go that route. The ADV 160 is high on the list, but I'm also thinking about maybe, you know, depending on how much I get out of it, of course. Let's say Pipe Dream, I get 7,500 trade-in at a dealer. Blue Book on it is over 8,500, something like that. So the dealer's probably going to screw me for at least 1,000. So if I get 7,500 out of it, I could get the ADV 150 and almost, or 160, sorry, ADV 160, and almost the CRF 150L or a XR 150L. That's it. So I could get 2 bikes for that. But I'm also thinking about one of the newer CB500R, the little Neo Cafe bike. I like that. It's really nice. It's kind of like this, but you know, newer, a little bit smaller, or even potentially the new CB500F with the inverted front forks and all that. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I don't need any more bikes. I really need to sell it and get my daughter a car, but it just kind of depends on how things go, whether I can sell it for a decent price. Did I pass Lockwood? Shit. I haven't been over here in a while. I think I might have passed it back there. I think I did. Yeah, I think I missed Lockwood back there. It was one of those first couple of exits right after the interchange, and I think I sailed right on by it. So I'm going to pull in here and check my directions. Hey, cool. Let's come through here. I'll sit in the shade. Oh, it's hot. Good God, it's hot. I-10 west. Yep. I went too far. I went too far. I passed the exit by 1 mile. Or 2 miles, something like that. So the other bikes that I'm thinking of, not for this year, obviously. One, they're not available this year. Two, my funding isn't where I want it to be. But I'm looking at the Transalp 750 if and when it's released here for the States. I would love it if the NT 1100 would be released here, but American Honda doesn't like to grace us with the fun machines from Europe, which I don't understand because they're world bikes, so why not bring them here? Same thing for the what was it, the ADV 750 XADV. Man, that light was almost impossible to see. They got the angle turned too low on it. Anyway, there's a handful of bikes that they get over there that we do not get in the States. I wish they would bring them. If the XADV 750 ever made it here to the U.S., it would replace several machines in my garage. Lockwood, yep, I missed it by a mile. The one that everybody's rooting for in the scooter commuter community is the ADV 350. And if Honda brings that thing here, I will definitely sell or trade multiple of my machines to get that, because that would be an ideal middleweight bike middleweight scooter, you know, that can do highway, commuting, whatever you want it to do. I wouldn't say it's really off-road, you know, even though it's got ADV in its title, but it could probably handle some mild gravel and off-roading. I don't like coming over here. I don't like this side of town. The roads suck, the traffic suck, and this is a not safe part of town. Pretty much all of Houston is not safe these days. I wonder if this place went out of business. They're always open with trucks sitting halfway out in the street. All right, I have arrived. I will catch up with you ladies and gentlefolk later. All right, welcome back to the day in progress. I don't even know what time it is. It's 3 something in the afternoon, almost 4. I've been here for about 6 hours, I guess. We got a lot done. They had all kinds of problems. I haven't been here in probably 2 years, maybe longer. And their Unify system, Ubiquiti Unify, gave up. Their little network controller, Cloud Key version 2, it quit. Don't know, doesn't power on. It's dead. Those things get power with PoE over the network, and I checked the injector. Injector's good. I tried powering it up with a USB-C on the back of it. Nope. Game over. So I had a backup of their configuration from a couple of years ago, and I just built a Windows-based controller and restored the config over the top of it, updated all their stuff, and got their access points back online, because basically their wireless network just went away, died, and they had other stuff they were trying to do with the security system and IP phones and all kinds of things that were just not behaving properly. We did a bunch of backups and got them updated and running smooth again. And man, what is up with this street? Ugh. So that's not the way I want to spend a Saturday, but I guess it's better to be busy than bored, right? I don't even know if I have my warehouse keys with me today. I did not think to check. If I do, they're in my backpack. I'll stop there. I'll swap this for the Rebel. I don't know. I might get there and I can't get in. We'll see. Oh man, it's like a blowtorch out here. My arms are like uncomfortably hot right now, even with this air blowing through it. It's so hot. Yikes. I checked the temperature and forecast and everything before I left the client site back there, and it said the temperature was 99 and the heat index was 114. Woo! Ooh, buddy, it's hot. Alrighty then. I'll see if I'm lucky and I have my key in my bag. I think I do. Excuse me, I think I do. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think I do. If I do, I'm going to swap out this 500 for the Rebel and head on back home. See if I get lucky. Ruh-roh. Nope, looks like I don't have it. Oh, ain't that a biatch. I'm gonna keep digging. I'll see if I find it. Yep, found them in the bottom of the bag. Swap-a-roo time. You okay? Swap-a-roo complete. Now watch. My son will go, oh, where'd you take the bike? I was gonna use it today. Hasn't ridden it in 2 months. And then he'll want to ride it. That's alright. I'll let him take the Rebel if he wants to go somewhere. Oh, that seat's hot. Holy crap. Oh my god. Ah, balls well done. It's only been sitting here for like 2 minutes idling. Ah, that seat's hot. I haven't ridden this much since I put the new tires on this thing. I think I've only got maybe 150 miles on it or something since the tires. That was right about the time my hand got boogered in March, so it's been 3 or 4 months since this thing has really been ridden. I rode it once or twice, I guess, after my hand got mashed up, but not much. So I need to put some fuel stabilizer in this thing today because the fuel that's in here is at least 4 months old. My front brake is feeling pretty squishy on this thing. I noticed it last time I rode it. I need to bleed out the brakes on this. I'll probably put some better pads on the front. On the Rebel 11, Gus put some EBC double H pads on the front of his, and he said they made a world of difference. Brakes on this thing are good, but not great. I think Honda probably could have put dual discs up on the front of this thing. Wouldn't have added that much cost to it. But I'll throw a set of double H's on the front, and if I ever need to take my rear wheel off again, I guess I don't have to take the wheel off, just pull the caliper. Might change out my rear pads for some double H's. I think I bought them. I can't remember. I think they're sitting in my project box. So many projects and so little time. I can't remember what's been done, what's been ordered, what's still pending. I can't keep track. I still want to get some forward controls and floorboards for this thing. Little miniature floorboards. I think that'd be great. Let me stretch my legs out a little bit more. I just don't want the floorboards to compromise ground clearance or anything like that. So the forward controls or relocation kit that I'll get for this is the Depretto Moto. They're pricey. They're $700 or $800, but they are beautiful. Oh God, it's like a blowtorch to the face. I haven't ridden this thing in a while. Forgot what it feels like to be a flying squirrel. Ah! I need to reach out to MadStad again. They offered to let me have one of their Rebel windscreens to try it out and demo it on the channel. And they were in the middle of reworking their new mounting solution. It's version 2 of their mounting solution, I guess, for the Rebel. And they wanted to make sure that I got the right stuff, you know, before I did the review. So I totally understand that. I need to reach out to, I think his name is Blair over there at MadStad, and see if they have finished that up or if they're waiting on me for something. We started talking about that just a little bit before the Cannonball, so about maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, I guess. I told them that I was going to be out of pocket, you know, for about a month. So they might just be waiting for me to say, yep, I'm back. Made it back in one piece, mostly. All right, well, home again, home again. My brain is well and truly cooked. It is stupid hot out here. So I'm going to go inside and relax. And I just got sprayed by those sprinklers back there. Anyway, I bid you all farewell. I was going to be out here working on the Ryker today, washing it and all that, but that was going to be a morning task, not an afternoon task when it's already this friggin' hot. So that ain't happening. I will maybe do that this evening or tomorrow morning. We'll see. Yeah, it's too hot for this. Anyway, I'll catch y'all later.